When something goes wrong in our bodies, we can call on the divine nature within ourselves and command it and speak to it to heal. Remember, faith cometh by hearing. If you say it over and over again, especially while you're in a subjective state, you will create the belief system that would create the faith. Remember, belief is repetitive thought. When thought becomes repetitive to the point that it has entered into the unconscious, it has came into faith. Faith and belief. Let's talk about the difference of faith and belief. All faith came from belief, but all belief is not faith. Oh, God! Oh, Frank. Oh, my God. All of faith came from belief, but all belief is not faith. Oh, God. So let's now go further into understanding the principle of faith. Faith has to come into the subjective mind. And all faith came from belief, but all belief is not faith. Let's delve into the mystery of what the Scriptures talks about when it speaks about this type of faith. The Bible talks about the subjective mind taking on belief. And this is known as childlike faith. Let's go to the Scripture. We see that the Bible tells us, I tell you, unless you change and become like a little children, you will never enter in. But we also see where Jesus says in Matthew 18, verse 2. Let's go there. Matthew 18, verse 2. I'm teaching you guys the secrets now. In Matthew 18, verse 2, we see a different aspect. We see where the Bible talks a little bit more about this child entering in. Belief starts with thought. So every belief came from thought. But every thought doesn't become belief. And every faith came from belief. But every belief does not graduate to faith. We first start out by the repetitive nature of the focus aspect of the thought. Belief is the graduation of repetitive thought. Thought must get into a place until it has become repetitive enough, until it graduates into a belief. But that's not enough. After it graduates into a belief, the belief must become repetitive enough until it goes and the subconscious mind accepts it as fact. When the subconscious mind accepts belief, this is the mystery of childlike faith. When the Bible speaks about childlike faith, this is the secret when belief has become unconscious. No longer do you have to focus on the repetitiveness of it, but now it has become a habit. Let's talk a little bit about habits. They did a study and they discussed what is the measurement or how many times, Frank, does something needs to be done before it becomes habitual? What do you think?
At least 30 times.
No.
Because it takes 30 days to break a habit.
It takes way more than 30 times. For a new habit to form, it has to be done at least 10,000 times.
Wow.
Okay? It has to be done at least 10,000 times. So for thought to become belief, the thought has to be thought about and be repetitive about 10,000 times. So this woman with the issue of blood, this woman just didn't wake up one morning and just said this. She was saying this to herself over and over again. She had to say this to herself at least 10,000 times. Okay? You can speed up the process if you're doing it with such a heightened emotion, but you have to do it until the emotional aspect of yourself or the subconscious mind starts to accept it as belief. Remember, the subconscious doesn't know what is true or what is not true. So in many ways, it has to be forced to believe it. And I don't want to use the word force because that's the wrong way of taking it, but it has to be repetitive enough until the subjective mind or the subconscious mind accepts it as fact. Remember, the subconscious mind is the child. It is always paying attention to its guardian or its parent. The guardians, they call the parents a guardian. It is paying attention to the conscious mind because the conscious mind is the guardian. It's what guards the child or guards the subconscious mind. This is why when we feel like we're in a safe place, then we can fall asleep. You're not falling asleep in a place where you don't feel safe. You get in a place where you don't feel safe, you ain't going to sleep. You're in a place where you don't feel safe and you don't know what the hell is going on. Your behind is going to be up looking around and looking around. Your guardian, which is the conscious mind, is going to be paying attention. You ever got into a place or a hotel room and you said, oh, my God, I can't go to sleep here. And you don't understand it's because your guardian mind has begun to detect something and it doesn't understand what it has detected because it probably detected something spiritually that was going on in that room before you got in that room. Years ago, I was in California staying at a particular hotel. And I couldn't go to sleep. I said, something about this hotel is weird. I got to get out of here. And they were looking at me and they said, what do you mean? I said, I can't sleep in here. And after they did a little research on that room, we found out that there was a particular celebrity that overdosed in that room, or someone else jumped out of the window and committed suicide in that room. That room had a whole bunch of mess going on in there. And my subjective mind or the subconscious felt it and did not feel comfortable. Therefore, the guardian of my conscious mind said that we're not going to go to sleep. And it was until I left that room that I was able to get my rest. Now, of course, I could have cleaned the room by blessing it. I did not know that at that age. Because when we bless it, we change the atmosphere of it. That is the secret meaning of blessing. But I was young and I did not realize that I could bless it to clean the atmosphere. There was nothing on the walls in the room, but on the psychic walls of the room, you could still smell death. It is the same thing as if you're walking into a home that someone recently died in. You can smell it. You can feel it. You might not have the words to say what it is, but you could feel it. The story is told in Ghana where they have these slave castles. The Africans go into the slave castles and they don't feel nothing. They go in there, they'll be talking in their language and talking about this and that and looking at each other, talking, oh, what you had for dinner? I had this for dinner. What you had? But if you take an African American in that slave castle, they freak out. They took Michelle Obama there and she freaked out. Because not all, but some African Americans, they can sense the ancestral nature of their ancestors that were in that room. Somehow, in the blood memory,